Thanks, Doris. It's a real pleasure to be with you virtually in Accra. Hello, everyone. It's been quite a while since I was in Accra myself. I was there a number of years ago as part of the mobilization for the West African Ebola outbreak, where Accra was the staging area for a lot of our relief efforts. So I got to know it pretty well and grew very fond of it. It's a pleasure to at least virtually be connected with you. I'm very excited about the the activation that Ghana is doing in arts and health right now, and particularly its themes of helping stroke victims and as well as interventions to help support people on the autism spectrum. Those are two areas that we're very much interested in Geneva and as part of the Jamil Arts and Health Lab, which I am a co-founder and co-director of. I think one of the things about stroke that is important and all non-communicable diseases is that it gets, I think, to the heart of health. In our 1947 WHO Constitution, health is not merely the absence of disease and infirmity, but the attainment of the highest level of physical, mental, and social well-being. So it's more than just the absence of a disease. It's about being the best human that you can be. And when we start looking at arts and non-communicable diseases, we start looking at it the same way that we do with nutrition and exercise. We look at creative expression as a health behavior, not just a messenger of health messaging. And so it's an area that I think is very important because it gets us away from an overly medicalized view of arts in the health context. The other theme that emerged for this particular activation is supporting autistic people. And I have a story about that. When I was working in a theater company, I did a number of years ago a production of Frankenstein, the classic novel. And when I auditioned, I got a lot of people coming in who when they were auditioning for the creature, did variations of the famous creature from the movies, the sort of lumbering monster. And there was one young man from Zimbabwe, his name was Tinashe, who gave the most wild audition. Instead of a lumbering creature, it was almost like a wild dog. And it was absolutely fascinating and mesmerizing to watch. So of course I cast him because it was so unique, it was so unusual. And I asked him actually in the audition, have you ever read the novel? Have you ever seen any of the movies? And he said no. So it was a completely unique invention. So after I cast him and I was talking to him on the phone, he hesitantly said, "There's something I have to tell you." And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "I'm autistic. I don't know that I can do this. I need to tell you up front." And I said, "Okay, well, why don't we try it and take this journey together?" And sure enough, I over the course of the rehearsal period, I began to learn a little bit about his life. He was nonverbal for many years. He was misdiagnosed as a child, and in many ways had shut himself off from society, and had a deep worry that was his inability to read emotions a limitation of being able to interpret emotions, or did he simply not have the emotions? And this was something that bothered him quite a bit. And one of the reasons why he was drawn to auditioning for a play was to find out if this was something that he could actually do, because it was at the heart of what it means to be autistic. And from a director's point of view, I had to assume both and support both, because I don't know what is actually going on in his head. And during the course of the rehearsal process, I noticed at a few points the autism became front and center. There was one stage direction where the creature was supposed to look into the mate's eyes, the female creature's eyes, and Tinashe couldn't do it. He wasn't following the stage direction. And I stopped the scene and I said, "What's wrong?" And he says, "Well, it's a symptom of autism. I can't look at people in the eyes. I don't know what to do." And he was getting a little bit upset because he thought that he was failing. And I said, "Well, why don't you try to look into her eyes and fail, and let's see what happens." And sure enough, he did, and it was absolutely heartbreaking. And when the performance finally got up on the stage, the audience saw it, and they noticed that there was something unusual about this creature that he created, but they couldn't quite put their finger on it. They didn't know that it was at all related to the autism. It became its own authentic personal creation that was real moment to moment and filled with life and spirit and artistic expression. It was quite a remarkable performance. Then during the run of the show, at one of the intermissions, someone came up to me and identified himself as Tinashe's doctor and asked me if I was the director, and I said yes. And he said, "What did you do?" And I said, "What do you mean, what did I do?" And he said, "For years, he's been living with his mother. He hasn't engaged in society. And now, through this rehearsal process, he's living by himself. He's doing his own errands. He's become almost fully independent. What did you do?" And I said, "I didn't do anything. I just simply supported his choices and allowed him to express himself." And I think that gets down to the heart of the healing power of the arts. I always go back to a touchstone quote from Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, who once said, "Loneliness is not the absence of people. Loneliness is the inability to express what matters to you most." And through creative expression, through the theater, Tinashe was able to express what mattered to him most. And so I encourage all of you in this event to fully and with pleasure and with hope express what matters to you at the deepest level, share it with each other, and enjoy your thriving lives and build a community that will stay with you for the rest of your lives. Thank you.